The morning Mark Hale woke up to silence, he knew something was wrong, not the peaceful kind of silence he rarely got as a single father, but the heavy, unfamiliar kind, like the air itself was holding its breath. No small footsteps racing down the hallway. No sleepy voice asking for cereal or cartoons. Just stillness. His eyes snapped open, heart jumping, and he turned his head toward the empty space beside him, only it wasn't empty. Someone was there. Someone warm. Someone breathing softly. His body froze before his mind caught up, and when he finally looked, his breath stopped altogether. A woman lay half-turned toward him, dark hair spilling across his pillow, one arm tucked under her head. She was wearing his shirt. His faded gray t-shirt, the one with the small tear near the hem from when he'd lifted his son too fast. It hung loosely on her, slipping off one shoulder, revealing skin he definitely did not remember seeing last night. Mark bolted upright, the sheet sliding down his waist, panic roaring through him as 1,000 questions crashed together. Who was she? How did she get here? And why did she look so familiar? The woman stirred at the movement, brows knitting slightly before her eyes opened. Sharp, intelligent eyes. Calm. Assessing. Eyes Mark had seen countless times across a boardroom table. His mouth went dry. "Oh God," he whispered. "No," she blinked once, then sat up slowly, the shirt riding higher on her thighs as she stretched like this was the most normal morning in the world. "You're awake," she said. Her voice was steady, low, unmistakable. Olivia Cross. His CEO. The woman who signed his paychecks. The woman whose approval could make or break his career. The woman currently sitting in his bed, wearing his shirt. Mark scrambled backward until his spine hit the headboard. "Ms. Cross, CEO Cross, I mean, what are you doing here?" She glanced around the small bedroom, taking in the framed crayon drawings on the wall, the stack of bedtime storybooks on the nightstand, the superhero lamp. A ghost of something unreadable crossed her face before she looked back at him. "Relax, Mark," she said softly. Nothing happened. That didn't help. At all. His heart pounded louder. "Then why are you in my bed?" She tilted her head, studying him like she did during high-stakes meetings, when she was deciding whether an idea lived or died. Then she spoke the words that would stay burned into his memory forever. "Because last night, you passed out on your couch holding your son, and I didn't have the heart to wake either of you." Mark stared at her, stunned. Fragments of the night rushed back in broken flashes. The emergency call from daycare. The rain-soaked drive home. His son Ethan burning up with fever. The knock at his door. Olivia Cross standing there in a tailored coat, hair pulled back, concern sharp in her eyes instead of her usual steel. He remembered trying to apologize for missing the late meeting. Remembered her waving it off and stepping inside without hesitation. Remembered exhaustion crushing him as he sat on the couch with Ethan on his chest, refusing to let go. And then, nothing. He ran a hand through his hair. "So, you stayed." Olivia's lips curved faintly, not quite a smile. Someone had to make sure he didn't spike a fever again. She stood, tugging the shirt down instinctively, suddenly more aware of herself. For a brief moment, the powerful CEO looked like just a woman who hadn't slept. "I moved him to his bed when he settled." "You didn't wake up." Mark swallowed hard. Embarrassment flooded him, followed quickly by something else, gratitude, tangled with confusion. "You didn't have to do that." Her gaze softened, just a fraction. "I know." A small voice cut through the tension. "Dad." Mark's head snapped toward the doorway as Ethan stood there, clutching his stuffed dinosaur, eyes sleepy but curious. His gaze moved from his father to Olivia, and then his face lit up. "Miss Olivia. You stayed." Mark felt his jaw drop. "You know her." Ethan nodded enthusiastically. She read me the space book. And she makes funny voices. Olivia cleared her throat, clearly uncomfortable. I did not make funny voices, she said, then paused. They were accurate astronaut impressions. Ethan giggled and crawled onto the bed, completely at ease, curling against Mark's side before peeking at Olivia. Are you my dad's friend? The room went very quiet. Mark held his breath. Olivia looked at the child, really looked at him, and something in her expression shifted, something deep and unguarded. Yes, she said gently. I am. Ethan smiled, satisfied, and yawned. Good. You can stay for breakfast. Mark opened his mouth to object, to explain, to say this was inappropriate on about 12 levels, but Olivia met his eyes, and for the first time since he'd known her, there was no authority there. Just sincerity. If that's okay, she added. He nodded before he could stop himself. Because somehow, in the chaos of shock and disbelief, one truth had settled heavy in his chest. Olivia Cross hadn't just crossed a professional boundary, she'd stepped into his life. And whatever line had been crossed last night, there was no uncrossing it now. As Olivia gently helped Ethan off the bed and walked him toward the kitchen, Mark sat there, staring at the rumpled sheets, his heart racing with a fear that had nothing to do with losing his job, and everything to do with what would happen if he didn't. Breakfast should not have felt like a battlefield, but Mark Hale stood at his tiny kitchen counter gripping a chipped mug like armor, watching Olivia Cross, his CEO, the most powerful woman in his company, flip pancakes in socked feet as if she belonged there. Sunlight poured through the narrow window, catching in her hair, softening the sharp lines he was used to seeing under fluorescent boardroom lights. Ethan sat at the table, legs swinging, narrating every move with the seriousness of a sports commentator. Dad, Miss Olivia makes pancakes better than you, he declared proudly. Mark opened his mouth to protest, then closed it. Because she did. And worse, she smiled at Ethan like his praise mattered. That was what unsettled Mark most. Not the shirt. Not the bed. Not even the fact that HR would combust if they knew. It was how natural she looked here, like she'd slipped into a life she'd never been invited into and decided to protect it anyway. You didn't tell me you were a chef, Mark said, trying for lightness, failing. Olivia slid a pancake onto Ethan's plate and replied without looking at him, I'm not. I just learned early that if you don't take care of things yourself, no one else will. The words landed heavier than intended. Ethan happily drowned his pancake in syrup, oblivious to the shift in the air. Mark studied Olivia's face, catching something guarded in her eyes. You didn't have to stay, he said again, quieter this time. She finally met his gaze. I know, she said. I wanted to. Silence stretched between them, thick with everything unsaid. After breakfast, Ethan announced he felt much better and promptly asked if Miss Olivia could walk him to school, because she scares bullies. Olivia raised an eyebrow. I do. Ethan nodded solemnly. You have boss eyes. Mark nearly choked. She has a meeting, he said quickly. A very important one. Olivia checked her watch. Then, to Mark's horror, she said, I can be late. His heart skipped. You can't, he said too fast. You're the CEO. And you're a father, she replied. Which one of us has the harder job? He had no answer. So 20 minutes later, Mark watched his son walk between them down the cracked sidewalk, holding both their hands, humming to himself like the world was exactly as it should be. Neighbors stared. Mark felt every look like a pinprick. At the school gate, Ethan hugged Olivia fiercely. You're coming back, right? She hesitated, just a second, then nodded. I'll try. When Ethan disappeared inside, reality crashed back in. Mark stepped away immediately. This can't happen again, he said. Olivia's expression cooled, the familiar executive mask sliding back into place. What, exactly, can't happen? He gestured wildly. You at my house. With my kid. People talk. Are you worried about gossip, she asked, or about what it means? That hit too close. I'm worried about my job, he snapped. I can't afford to lose it. Her eyes darkened, not with anger, but something like hurt. You think I'd ever jeopardize that? You already are, he said, immediately regretting it. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. Mark, last night wasn't a scandal. It was a choice. And I don't make careless ones. He swallowed. Why me? The question slipped out before he could stop it. She looked past him, toward the school doors. Because you don't pretend, she said. You don't use people. And because when your son was sick, you didn't ask for help, you just carried the weight. She met his eyes again. I know what that's like. For a moment, the city noise faded. He saw exhaustion etched beneath her control, loneliness she had better than anyone. I lost someone once, she continued quietly. And I promised myself I'd never let another thing I cared about slip through my fingers because I was too busy being untouchable. Mark's chest tightened. I'm not something you can protect, he said. I'm not asking to, she replied. I'm asking not to walk away just because you're afraid. The sound of a camera shutter snapped them both out of it. Across the street, a woman lowered her phone, eyes alight with curiosity. Mark's blood ran cold. That's Linda from accounting, he muttered. She posts everything. Olivia exhaled slowly. Then we have a problem. Hours later, Mark sat in his cubicle, unable to focus as whispers rippled through the office. When Olivia entered the floor, conversation died instantly. She didn't look at him until she reached his desk. My office, she said coolly. The door closed behind them. She didn't sit. There are photos, she said. Speculation. His stomach dropped. I'll resign, he said immediately. She turned sharply. No, you shouldn't have to defend me, he said. I won't be the reason your reputation takes a hit. She stepped in front of him, voice fierce and low. You are not a liability. Then, softer, you're not disposable. Her assistant knocked. Miss Cross, the board is asking questions. Olivia straightened, Steele returning. Good, she said. So am I. As she reached for the door, she paused. Mark, she said without turning around. Whatever happens next, I don't regret last night. He watched her leave, heart pounding, knowing one truth with terrifying clarity: by morning, his life, or his career, would be irrevocably changed. If you want to know what the board decides, what secret Olivia is hiding from her past, and how one choice will force Mark to choose between safety and love, subscribe now and don't miss the next chapter. This story is just getting started.